Hey guys, Shawn Ziem, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor, and the Webtalk Legends podcast host. And it's all about providing that value. And we're going to have stories from our guests that we're going to gain some massive value from. I want you to sit back, enjoy wherever you are in the world. It could be the morning for some of you, it could be really late, it could be 8, 9 o'clock at night right now in New Jersey. So it's important that if you're with us right now, if you haven't already, hashtag live in the comments, at least do a comment of where you're watching from. We would love to see our reach, and we're here to promote and help others. That's the goal. If you are one that wants to be on the podcast, please reach out to me. We would love to have you share your story and get you into our networks. That's the important thing, is all growing together. Let me bring out a friend of mine, Shawn Shallis, another Shawn, double Shawns. We've done lives before, and it's something that we've done the business type of lives, and we've talked about mortgages, talked about real estate. This is going to be fun because this is a different side. We're going to be able to see Shawn Shallis. Shawn, give us a little intro of who you are and what you do.
What's up, Shawn Squared, man? How are you, Shawn? Thank God you spell your name differently, so it makes it easier. So my name is Shawn Shallis. I'm actually a mortgage originator with U.S. Bank. We're the fifth largest bank in the world right now, or in the United States, I should say. And people say, "Well, do you write mortgages, Shawn? Now, like you were in the mortgage side, you were in the real estate side for 25 years, and now you're writing mortgages." I go, "No, not really writing mortgages. Really, what I'm focused on is, helping people build generational wealth by leveraging real estate." And Shawn, you've heard me say this before. I believe that everybody has a $1 billion blind spot that's either lying dormant within them or their business. And if somebody else can see it from the outside looking in, I kind of tweak it a little bit, turn it, capitalize on it, and hammer it home, and really, make an impact. And I got to tell you, like, I've been on the mortgage side now truth be told, I've been consulting and training mortgage reps for probably 20 years of my 25-year career, 30-year career on the real estate side, as a sales and marketing guru, kind of an automation guy. But the reality is I never actually wrote a loan. So I've done everything in the mortgage side. I knew probably more than most mortgage lenders did, but never actually written a loan. So this week I've actually written a loan, gotten that under my belt. But you actually know a friend of mine is James Chu. I've been actually working with him for 25 years, and he recently said to me, "You're in the wrong business, right?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You're a numbers guy." He goes, "You're like a coach. You're a mentor. You get lit up when you're coaching people." He said, if you're on the mortgage side and you take all the stuff you did as a coach and you bring it on the mortgage, if you're on the real estate side and you move all that stuff that you did for the realtors to the mortgage side and you offer that as a value proposition to them and helping them and other businesses grow, that's a huge added value proposition for the people. And you'll actually get to do what you love, which is help people by coaching them and mentoring them and help them get to the next level and build their business. And at the same time, I may actually get some mortgage business out of it and make a living for my family and I. And you know what? I haven't been this excited in probably a good 10 years.
Hey, lighting the fire again. That's a huge thing. Taking a leap of faith, doing things that some people do things for way too long before they kind of cut it off. And it's good that you were able to make that happen. And I know it's a shock for some people. Like, wait, I thought you were into real estate. Now you're in the mortgage business.
I did it for 25 years and 2,000 transactions, but I'll be honest with you, it took me probably a lot of therapy and a lot of soul searching to figure out what I wasn't enjoying anymore. And what I kind of realized that it's kind of unique is I was a guy that's my business. I'm one of those guys who's super, super educated, super techie. When I say educated, I mean educated in my space and my business. And I'm an autophile, if you will. I've been trained and coached by literally some of the best people in the industry in the world, for that matter. And I felt as though I was applying level 10 skills in a level 2 environment. And ironically enough, for the past 10 years, I felt like, no matter what I did, my business was going down, not up. And then I realized that the way I was trained and my skill set is I'm a surgeon. I'm the guy who comes in when it doesn't work out and when you can't fix it, and I fix it. And the challenge is, though, in a market where I left Hudson County, and that's what I didn't realize this until recently, is that, when I moved out of the suburban environment to go out to the suburban environment, the market went straight up from 2013, which was right when I started moving out to the suburbs, and it's gone straight up until recently, where it's still going up, but it's about to level off and go back down. And I just couldn't put the two together, and all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, I say it all the time to other people, is in this market, nobody knows if you're good or not. Everybody's got a flash. It's like going into the concert. Everybody's got a flashlight. Everybody's got their lighter in the air, and they're and they're all on, right? And then all of a sudden they all go out, and you're standing there with the lighter. I'm the guy who's standing with the lighter when the market goes in the toilet, and I know how to do that market, and I know how to help people and stuff like that. The challenge is, though, is when you're in a market that's going straight up, nobody notices that. So, and what I think I just got really burnt out waiting for the opportunity. And then I while I was coaching and mentoring my good friend of mine's team over at US Bank, he came to me and he said, the people that we were going to fire like 3 years ago, you said, don't fire them. Let me work with them and see what happens. We trained them. And he recently came back to me about 6 months ago. And he goes, those people that you trained, their business has doubled. And he said, I can give 20% of that, 25% of that to a market appreciation. But he goes, not all of it. The rest of it is what you taught them. He goes,
I want to pause you for a second, because yes, when you are giving information, you're teaching others in a community. That's how you're going to help other people grow. And you put other people first. You're helping others, and it's a key thing, which we're doing as far as a community, as far as Webtalk Legends, Webtalk, Learn with Legends. We're all trying to put everybody up first. We're trying to push them. Now, everyone I know, we talk mortgages, talk real estate. I want to go farther back with Shawn Shallis back in the day. If you want to go as far back as when you were in high school, what were you like in high school?
I could tell you this. I went to a Mike Ferry event, which is a real estate training company. And we were in Florida, and I was like in my 30s, I guess. And my mom came. And somebody at the table, I was at a mastermind group for the top realtors in the country. It was about 60 of us, and they were like the top 1% of one, right? And somebody asked my mom, they go, how'd you know he was going to be a salesman? Like, how'd you know he was going to be, like, my mom said, he's always been a salesman all his life. And then they said, well, how'd you know? And my mom goes, well, he was selling water to the contractors off the front lawn at 6 years old out of the hose for like a quarter. And I would stand out in the hose and I'd say, here, give me your 1 gallon plastic, milk jug, and I'll fill it up for a quarter. Give me a quarter. And so, that was that. As I kind of got older, my mom got divorced at a very, very like weird time. Like in the 70s, when people didn't get divorced, my mom got divorced, and she basically moved into a town called Madison, New Jersey, which was like, I lived in Madison Park as a kid, which was Old Bridge. And then I moved to Madison, New Jersey, which was like they put a zero on the end of your income when you moved there, right? Or they tried to, at least.
Right.
And, my mom didn't have the money to give me to like eat, like barely go for lunch at school. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really the academic at that time. I wasn't. God knows I am like now, like far beyond the student. But, I was on the work program. And I worked in kitchens, and I literally was working like a 40-hour week during high school. Like half day. I would go from 3 o'clock to 3 o'clock and then get up and go to school in the morning. When I went, and at the end of that, like right before high school ended, I saw my friends and I thought like, oh my God, I'm going to end up like my friends in jail or something stupid. So I signed myself into the Army when I was 17. I had to call my dad, my mom and dad were divorced. My mom had custody. So I knew my mom wasn't going to sign. So I called my dad. I said, hey, Dad, you got to come and sign me in the Army because I'm only 17. He goes, oh, my God, you should go in the Air Force. You're going to be digging holes. I go, no, I know what I'm doing, Dad. I know exactly what I'm doing. Day 2, guess what? Son of a bitch. He's always fucking right. Excuse my French. He's always right. So went in the Army. I was a Ranger in the Army. So Special Forces, became very disciplined as a result of that. It was either that or they were going to kill me, one of the two. And, after I came back, I got in the elevator business. My uncle got me a job in the elevator
Elevator business.
I was an elevator and escalator mechanic for a couple of years as a helper. My uncle was like very connected in the union. It was the most powerful union in New York City. I had no idea what my uncle did. He was the guy, and I could say it now because he's passed away, but he would hold you over the elevator shaft and say, you should really be union, because he had hands the size of my feet. But, when after about 2 years, I hated what I did and I quit. And I got into multi-level marketing in the insurance and mortgage business. This is now 30 years ago, probably. No, more than that. I did that for a couple of years. I made a lot of money, and I wasn't disciplined with my money. I put a lot of it up my nose. I had some fun, and I ended up. My brother called me and said, "Bring all your bills to my house." He wrote checks, thank God, and sent me back to my uncle. And I go, "Oh my God, don't send me back to Uncle Frank," to go get my job back. And when I saw him, he goes, "Hey, kid, I've gotten hundreds of people's jobs." And he goes, "You're the only one I've ever gotten a phone call that you're working too hard. They're going to throw you down the elevator shaft." And that's when I kind of knew, so I did the elevators again for about 8 years. I became like the youngest maintenance mechanic. True story. This is like really when they talk about you're at the glass ceiling. I don't know if you realize this, the elevator mechanics office is in the roof. It's because that's where the machine room is for all the elevators, right? And I worked in Harlem Hospital. I'll never forget it. I was in the real estate business, which I got into real estate by accident. I developed a patent on a bicycle lock, which is this thing. All right, which is the U-shaped lock that you use for your bike.
Yeah.
Not big enough to lock up the front wheel, the back wheel, and the frame. So what you do is you put this around the back wheel, you put your front wheel on and you slide this through it, and it locks it. And when you're not using it, it goes right inside. So I developed that, they swore I wouldn't get a patent. I got a patent. And I said to my buddy in the Parker house, which in South Jersey, I said, we were blind drunk. And I said, if I had the money to develop my patent to get the inventory, which at that time was like $30,000 or something, which was all the money in the world to me. It could have been $3 million. I could not figure out how to get it. And my buddy goes, my mom does real estate and she sucks at it and she makes a lot of money. He goes, you've been thrown out of every bar at least twice in Hoboken. You know everybody. He goes, you'll do great. And so I did real estate for like about a month. And I still remember because back then it was, you didn't have audio books and all that stuff. My cell phone was like this big, attached to a car battery. And I came out of the Port Authority. I walked into Barnes and Noble. And what happened was I sold a house over the weekend. I called my broker and I go, dude, I need to know how to do a contract. He goes, keep doing rentals. Once you figure out how to do those, then we'll teach you how to do a sale. I go, well, I sold 2 goddamn houses over the weekend. I need your help, or I need somebody to help me to figure this out. And ultimately, because I was resourceful, I went into the Barnes & Noble, found the smallest book on the bookshelf, which was like this big. It was How to Develop a Six-Figure Income by Mike Ferry. And because I had just gotten out of the Army shortly there before, I just did what the book said. I did exactly what the book said, and I did. I built, and within about a month and a half, I was on the roof of the building. I got so frustrated and I called my boss and I said, listen, I'm not sure what I'm doing. So then the guy who I'm going to replace is retiring. He has his paperwork for his retirement on the desk. And I'm not like, I don't read real well, maybe, I don't know, but I could do math. And I look at his paperwork and I go, holy crap. You realize that he only made like 8 or 12% more than I did. He's been here for 40 years. I've been here for 10. I go, holy shit, I'm going to wait another 30 years to make another 10%. Like,
right.
There's something wrong with that picture, right? And I literally went out on the roof of the building, which is the highest point. Like, I was against the glass ceiling on the roof of the building, and I called my boss up, and I go, you know what? You were looking to lay people off, lay me off. And that was it. And I never looked back. And then, so now I've been on the sales side, as you're aware of, in the real estate. I had a 25-year run in the real estate career. Could have stayed doing it, but honestly, I got burnt out. And I realized that I wasn't able to really do what I love. And you've seen me over the years, probably the past 3 or 4 years, which is about how long we've known each other.
Mm-hmm.
The way we met was when I started to say, okay, I'm going to do coaching, I'm going to do mentoring, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to do all these classes, I'm going to do all this stuff. And it was great stuff. But the challenge was the audience didn't want to pay for anything, which is the real estate professionals for the most part. And I said, all right, you know what? Let me figure out a different way of doing it. Then I went to the consumer and I wrote, how to sell your house on your own. And the realtors were like, oh my God, why would you give away the secret sauce? Oh my Jesus, what are you, crazy? Well, what most of them don't realize is 89% of for sale by owners eventually will get frustrated and list their house for sale with an agent. And if I happen to be the guy giving them the book, 65% will list the house with the first person they talk to. So if I give you the book for free, you may call me. Right. So it's basically an aggressive lead gen strategy. But even that was not doing it for me. And then every time I would go to my buddy's mortgage office and coach his people, he said to me, he goes, you were like the freaking 400-watt light bulb. You would light up like a Christmas tree, doing your, helping my people. And all they kept saying was, why isn't he doing mortgages? And then as recently as about 3 months ago or 2 months ago, I started with US Bank. Couldn't be happier. I'm working with James Chu, who is a legend. By the way, he was my business partner for 25 years. So we've worked together now. And like the 2011, 12, when the market went in the toilet, I did 155 units with me and three guys, or three men and women. I had two salespeople and three operations people. And I don't know if you know what happened during that period of time. For some of these people that don't know, the market literally went to zero. It went down 45% in 6 months in price and 50% in the amount of sales. And we crushed it. So it's when you find what you love, you don't go to work anymore.
Right. And you have the passion, man. You could hear it and how you're speaking about everything as far as the military, selling doing the elevating mechanic, like all those actually built up for what you're doing as far as in your real life. Now you're able to help even more people. You said something about multi-level marketing. Yep. There are some people that are in this that are watching now and that will watching in the replay. What is like 3 tips that you can give people to help them become more successful in multi-level marketing, network marketing, affiliate marketing? People they have a bad taste in their mouth sometimes to say, oh, you're in that kind of, but everything in life is a multi-level marketing. If you have a CEO, usually it's different.
You got how many kids, Sean?
I'm going to have 4. It's coming.
You're gonna have 4, right? It's coming, right? So you buy milk, right? Your kids like to drink milk, right? So where do you buy the milk?
Usually like ShopRite, Stop and
ShopRite.
Shop.
Where do you think ShopRite got the milk?
Some farm.
No, they bought it from a wholesaler, but the wholesaler bought it from some guy who bought it from a farm, who bought it from a cow, who stuck it in some kind of machine, pasteurized it, and then he sold it to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler sold it, and each one of those people made a little bit of money. Does that sound like a pyramid to you? Of course it is.
Yeah.
You're right. Of course it is. So for the multi-level marketing people, which is the entire planet, by the way, I don't care who you are.
Right.
My pecking order in my house is my wife, me, my kids, the dog. I'm probably between the dog and the kids somewhere, but it's a multi-level. There's no two ways about it. I would say number 1, it's about the who, not the what. Number 1 is the who. It's find the audience. Remember what I said earlier about I had the wrong audience for the message. The second thing would be is when you find the audience, focus on when you focus on the outcome and not the income, you'll make more money. If you're focusing, again, I'll say it again, if you're focusing on the outcome and not the income, you'll make more money. And then the last thing is constantly reinvest in yourself. And I would say probably have 15 versions of this book, which is this, that somebody gave me because they knew I was so passionate about it. And when I first got in multi-level marketing, they said, hey, Shawn, I was in my 20s, like young. And they said, hey, read Think and Grow Rich. And you can see, like I have, like this is a copy. This is like, I don't know, like the 15th copy I've had now. It's highlighted. It's got things stuck in it. my coach said to me, read it every year for the rest of your life. And I was like, twice a year. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. And I've probably read it now 40 times because I used to read it. I haven't read it in a while. I should probably read it again, but
hey, maybe we spark it right now. Let's just talking about it.
I mean, I've read it so many times. I'm just like I actually know the sentences before I get to them. I could tell you in the book where to go for whatever message, but I used to read it for the week of my birthday, as in August, and then I would read it between Christmas and New Year's. That week in there, because I always thought that, like, okay, that's a great week to read something like that to kind of ignite your year going forward. So I think, multi-level marketing guys, especially, it's the who, it's how many, and how much effort you put in is what you're going to get back out. And by the way, it's the momentum. It's, great job, by the way, at Ada. He said he's halfway through reading the book. One of the things I would say to somebody about reading that book is, don't read it for content. Read it like a Bible. Use it as your self, your motivational Bible. Like we've created, as a result of that book, I created something called the 10X Personal Success Formula Framework, which is trademarked. And now we've written it for realtors, really. And now we use it in almost every industry where we've coached multi-level marketing people, insurance people, mortgage people. I've coached landscapers, roofers, gutter guys, you name it. But we use the same platform. We use the same, it's that 10X Personal Success Formula is a platform to basically create a foundation. And where it came from was when I went in the Army, you went to basic training. And in this case, you're going from being a person who was a self-employed person or somebody who wanted to be a realtor and wanted to get into business to being a business person doing real estate. Most people get into real estate and then end up building a business, and they really don't know how to.
Right.
And every once in a while, you'll find a business person that becomes a realtor, and usually they do very well. So what I did was what happened was I changed companies and I lost a tremendous amount of money, and I had a very short window of time to get the money back. And so what I did was I took all the mentoring and all the coaching. I had I think I counted it up one day, 65 coaches over the past 25 years and invested over $1 million. The one thing I did is I took all of that information, distilled it down into 4 or 5 things every morning that I was going to do, which is in the morning, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting up and I'm sitting quiet. The next thing I'm doing is affirmations and visualizations. The next thing that I'm doing is the visualization. After the visualization, I'm getting out and I'm going and exercising. Then I'm going to sit down and reflect and write and scribe, if you will. And then I'm getting into action. And that's, and by the way, for me, that happens typically anywhere between 3:30 and 6. It depends on, like, some days I can't sleep because I'm just excited. I take a lot of chemicals. I am like a 12-year-old kid in a 55-year-old body. But when I get it, like now, like I'm very, I'm excited to go to work because it's new and I know I got a lot to get done. I got to get a lot done. So sometimes I don't sleep that well. And if I wake up at 3 o'clock, I'll get up, I'll go sit quiet, meditate, and then I'll go and, go work out at 5 o'clock and be done by 6, and then do some work until wait for my kids to get up, and then go in the office. So, it's a disease to a certain extent. But remember, disease is dis-ease. And if you want to, everybody talks about balance. It's great to be balanced, but when you're striving in the beginning and you're creating momentum, you got to get out of balance to get in balance.
Hear that, Scott? Scott, that's he's the CEO of Webtalk Legends. He's creating this Learn with Legends, and yeah, man, he's just taking it to a different level. That's a great thing right there.
You have to, I believe, like right now I'm doing that, and I've actually got time blocks for learning, learning about mortgage products. I have time blocks for looking at the guidelines. I have time blocks for prospecting, lead follow-up. And some of the people I talk to, but like when I went in the mortgage business, ironically enough, and James was not surprised, I go, okay, I'm going to do this. And he goes, okay, we've got the approval. You're in. And I was like, okay, good. I didn't even get my letter, like a confirmation of employment letter or whatever. I sent him an email that said, here's my business plan for the next 12 months. And here's what I'm going to do. And here's how many units. And here's how many contacts. And here's my phone calls. And here's how many hours. And here's the people I'm going to do it with. And here's my top 100. And he was like blown away. But he knows me well enough to where he was kind of laughing and blown away at the same time. So, I have every intention of, I know I've been told that this is going to be the worst mortgage market in years because interest rates just went over like 6% in some cases. The reality is when I got started in the real estate business, it was the same thing. So I'm a firm believer in you build yourself in a down market because it gives you the ability to focus on building systems and platforms.
Yes.
So that when you do get when the market does come to you, if you built the boat to hold 100 and you're only doing 50, you got plenty of room in there to put some extra people on the boat.
That's it. I want to end on this, and we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
But a term that I want to, really hone in on is having patience.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? How important that is with business? With you're talking about it right now with the mortgage business. It's going to be a struggle, but if you put your work in, you have your systems.
I'm going to say that it's funny if you read the 10x. You can go to it's www.10x personal success formula or 10x. It's Shawn. You can put it in a link or whatever, but it's 10x. It's www.10 the number 10xpsf.com. If you go in there, you said it a second ago. You said, "Hey, it's going to be a struggle, right?" And by the way, that's free. That you could download the blueprint for free. It's my gift to you guys. But in the back of it, there's a whole chapter. There's a whole chapter on language and how powerful language is. And if you ever notice, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I never use the word problem because a problem is something you can't get around. A challenge is something you can overcome. You can move around. You can get past, go forward. I think patience is. I'm not a big fan of the word patience, to be honest with you. I have ADHD at a really high level, so that it just doesn't equate in my brain. But I think what you need to here's a great way to end this, and I think I'll give you a really good way of looking at patience. We're trained as children to do, have, be. To do this, keep doing it, to have this, and then eventually you're going to be this guy or that girl, right? So I'm going to do, and then maybe I'm going to have it, and I'm going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to go back, and I'm going to have it, and then I'm going to be that person. The problem is, we do. We never really get to have, and when we do get to have it, we have to go back and do it again to have it in our head at least, and we never really get to be the person we want to be. And then when we finally get to be that person, somebody's usually putting you in a pine box. So what I was trying to do is reverse the paradigm, and to be the person mentally, spiritually focused on who you like. Like when I got to the mortgage office, the average mortgage person does like $70,000 a year, I guess, in our area. And I said, "Hey, listen, I'm not here to play games. I'm going to do $500,000 my first year in the business." And they were all like, "Oh my God, dude, this is like the worst market. There's the worst market in 25 years." And I go, "I know." And hopefully everybody else knows that, and they all go out of the business and they leave it for me. But that's my intention waking up every day is I'm going to make $562,000 because that's what it is when I do the math. That's what my business plan says. And whatever that is, I'm just focused on that. And I want to be the guy who's already doing that in my head. And I want to be that person when I show up with my attitude, my approach, and my expectations in who I'm being. And eventually what will happen is the next thing that's going to happen is once you put that out there and once you start to be that person, now you're going to start to do the activities that is that person. And eventually, guess what happens? You're going to be that person, you're going to do the activities, and you're going to have all the things that the person has.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to start. It's like golf. Golf is one of the hardest games in the world, trying to chase a ball about that big. But it takes place between a 5-inch span.
Yep.
And it's the hardest. By the way, I did the 75 hard 2 years ago, I guess. The one thing I learned from doing that exercise was the hardest person to negotiate with is the person in your skull. hands down, hardest person to negotiate with is the person in your brain. I've negotiated $500 million in real estate with 2,000 people personally, not my team, not my member, not all that crap, me. And I can tell you the hardest person I've ever negotiated with, and I've negotiated like hundreds of millions of dollars in deals, is me. Is negotiating me out of bed, negotiating me to go run in the rain and whatever, you know.
No, well said, man. I appreciate you jumping on, guys that are engaging tonight. We appreciate you. Please connect with Shawn. Check out, and I'll share it again in the banners here. Check it out. Get your, it's 10xpsf.com. Check it out. And if you want to connect with him, he's a wealth of knowledge from everything.
If you guys connect with me, just chat me and let me know. Let me know that you're Shawn's friend, just so I know, and then I can honor Shawn for that.
No, I appreciate it. We're all here to help each other. That's the goal. So definitely reach out, connect, and continue growing and be patient. What you're doing, we're doing all these different tasks, and you're on social media and you're posting, and nothing's happening right now for you. That's fine. Keep being consistent.
I would say
it'll work.
Instead of saying be patient, I think maybe stay in action. Because the reason why people have to be patient is they stop doing something and they have to push really hard to get momentum, and then all of a sudden they need to be patient again because they're exhausted. But if you stay in if you get up to a speed and you stay in momentum, it takes out the emotional roller coaster, as they say. I
hope you guys gained some value, and I know you did. And Shawn, I appreciate you as always. We'll be in touch. Everyone else in the world, have yourself an awesome night, morning, afternoon.
Whatever it is for you, man.
Wherever it is for you. Have an awesome time, guys. Thank you
So
again.
everybody. Have a great day. Shawn, thanks so much for having me, man. You're always a pleasure to talk to.
You got it, brother.